But she's probably the right
In where?
What's up? How are you?
You're healing up nicely.
I feel weird.
Hold on, Tom. We got a minute, Tom.
I can't see her.
We can't either. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing in honor of those serving in the military. Great, thank you. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. Make a motion. Yes. Okay, great. Make a motion to approve board minutes of March 3rd, March 25th, 2025. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Suffolk County Police Officer, would you like to come up? Yes. We have about 15 copies of the budget in the back if anybody wants the budget. Officer, thank you for coming tonight. You're a first timer?
First time here, yeah.
Okay, it's a tough crowd. You gotta watch out for these guys. Okay, but thank you again for coming. Our problems you're probably gonna say is people got to lock their doors, correct?
Not this month, but
Okay, yeah, it goes in spurts. But is there anything on the report that you want to point out, or any?
the only thing that, I'm sure everybody's aware of it, but, locking cars at night. Most of the time, we find out that a lot of people just randomly open car doors. And it's not so much break-ins anymore. It's just people just trying to open car doors, and if it's open, then they take items from it. So we don't see as much break-ins anymore, like people shattering the glass. It's mostly now, if the cars are open, then people feel like, oh, I can get this stuff. This is something, not just in Brightwater, in other areas too, that I've noticed that's been going around. Usually at nighttime, anywhere between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., people just walking the streets and just opening cars and taking random things. I had a couple weeks ago, somebody works in the hotel industry and had a very old safe, and his car was open, and the person stole the old safe. Don't know why a person needs it, but just something to point out that's seen that a lot.
In the village now, we're 100% 25 miles an hour. How do we request for the speed to be monitored by the Suffolk County?
So we have specialized code units that will go out and enforce speed, stop signs, and that's something I can forward to.
Yeah, you guys are good with the stop signs. Every now and then somebody comes in and just cranks away and just keeps writing for the next couple of hours. But now that we had part of the village was 25, now they're 95. So anything that you guys can do with that,
Yeah, we have specialized cold units that, specialize in that, and, they will go out and
Okay.
fix that.
What did you see, Bill? You saw something on Ridgeway, or?
Oh, yeah, no, on Ridgeway, they have the speed sign that's actually, it's electronic, and it tells you how fast the
Yeah.
cars are going, so we were just gonna try to maybe look into that and see, see if that was cost effective. But-
That's in the town of Iceland. Do they just put them up themselves? That's not something the police would put up,
No,
right?
that's otherwise, yeah.
Yeah. Those things, we priced them up, they're about $5,000 a piece. So one of those signs that just says the speed with the solar panel, they're $5,000. So it does add up. Anybody else on the board have any questions for the officers?
Yeah,
Anybody?
oh, sorry, yeah, if I could just give a little clarity on the incidents that we did have in March there. The motor vehicle theft offense on Howells, what was that?
I'm sorry?
The first one here, the motor vehicle theft offense on Howells, what was that? You want to go to the podium, it'd be easier for the papers.
Oh, you mean the property damage?
It says motor vehicle theft offense on Howells Road, March 4th.
1820.
All I have is the property damage.
Yeah, I guess this is what they just sent us, I think, today.
Yeah, so that's it's a property damage. It was a hit and run. That's also something with hit and runs. If somebody gets hit, if we don't have a license plate and there's no cameras, it's so difficult for us to investigate, as far as insurance purpose. I always recommend if by any chance you get a license plate, that'd be a huge help. In that instance, this was forwarded to the first precinct, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that.
What was it? It's a hit and run that got put in as a motor vehicle theft offense?
What's the report number on that?
Yeah, we don't
It's
have,
on the top two left.
no, it just has the date.
Do you want us to give you what I got here? Just see if-
Yeah, I have that too.
All right, it's fine if you don't have it. I was just
Yeah, it
trying to
has
get.
a property damage accident, that's what I have.
All right, I was just trying to get some clarity on what these crimes were that are in here, like the harassment and mischief on Orinoco.
Yeah, this woman was sitting in traffic and she got hit, that's what I have on Howells Road. And then
Howells Road.
And then she went to the first precinct, but it happened here on Howells Road.
All right.
That's the only incident I have for March 4th.
All right. All right. And then it says 13th and 14th, harassment and mischief on Orinoco.
Right.
Is that the same incident, or is that?
No, two different incidents. One, she was harassed by a male person, and she kind of started pushing him back, and then he pushed her, and this is when we got involved. She has a possible plate number, but it's not exact.
Gotcha.
Was this in the Four Corners, or was it more towards the apartments? It just says Orinoco.
That was at the pizza place.
Okay.
Honestly, interesting.
Yeah.
Both of them, the one on the 14th also, or is that a different location?
That is a different location. That was a paintball incident. Somebody shot a paintball in a vehicle.
Where is that?
200 Orinoco Drive.
Okay. Any other questions on these others?
No.
Does anybody in the audience have any questions for the officer? No? Okay, great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
right, reports of the mayor and the trustees. Trustee Fawcett, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, trustees, everybody. The DPW has been very busy getting the canal ready for opening. We're actually officially opening April 15th. If you haven't downloaded the Brightwater's app, please do. It was notified today, everybody that has the app, that the canal will be opening. Mike and his crew have done a great job getting the canal ready. There's a barge in the canal right now. They've been restoring some of the boards that came out over the winter, and then they've also changed the spigots out from the west side to match what was on the east side. Please do me a favor, if you see anybody tying their lines around them, please untie the lines around them. They're not to be used for any kind of securing of your boat or any other items in the canal. They've also been very busy with all of our different events that we have. Our guys are the guys that clean up, set up, take down. They also work with our gardening club. They're doing some mulching now. They've moved some abrevieties that were overgrown. If you notice the beautiful estate fence that was put down at the end of Concourse East going into Gilbert, they assisted with that. That looks really great. They're going to be working. We're actually going to be doing the state fencing in Walker. That's coming up soon, so they'll be assisting with that. They have other maintenance, obviously, things that they have to do as we cycle out of winter into spring. They're now, the nice thing is they've been able to get the trucks all squared away, get the salt boxes off, sand boxes off, get the trucks all cleaned. With our new DPW building, they're able to get everything cleaned up and stored in appropriate fashion. So, you know, our big capital expense of all our equipment is being well taken care of. That's pretty much all I have for now, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, great. Trustee Pettit?
Yeah, so we're looking at the traffic study now. It's going to be happening April 21st to 28th. The speed limit has been changed, like we said, to 25 miles an hour throughout the village. We'll be doing the Our Town Slow Down coming up. Like the officer said, it's nicer out. There's people going to be walking around the neighborhood looking for cars to open the doors and find their stuff. Obviously, lock your doors. But if you do see something, if you see something on your Ring camera or something, and somebody is on your property trying to get into your car, that's a crime. Don't call code. It's not going to do any good. And if you see it happening at that time, obviously call 911 right away. But if you see it the next day, call 911, or not. You don't have to call 911. Call the precinct and get a report, so that it's actually something that's going to be filed and it's not just something that's thrown to the side, so that we know what's going on in the village. And any emergencies, call 911. You can call code later if you really feel you need to. Then we'll be looking into pro protection in the coming months if everything goes the way we're looking, and that should help with the issues that we have.
Okay, great. Trustee Delvecchio?
Major events in April. We have April 19th. There's going to be our Easter egg hunt starting at around 3 o'clock. Be there sharp so you don't miss the starting point. 3 o'clock we're thinking the younger kiddos. 3:30 we're thinking the older kiddos. Also for students who are looking for service hours, show up at 2 o'clock. We got lots of work for you to do for that. The other big event in Brightwater is the following weekend. We have our village tag sale. And then the clothing.
Yeah, Mario's name. Yeah, sure.
Okay. April 10th through April 12th, resident Mario Fiore is riding his bike across New York State to raise money and awareness for cancer research. He's running a clothing drive on those days. More information to follow about that one. That's all I have.
Okay, great. Trustee Zep?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just with respect to the code department, Bob's been really busy in the building department, just working on permits, getting COs for people, certificates of compliance. He's fantastic. As a village resident, if you do have a question with anything, please contact him. Bob is so knowledgeable. His background as an architect, it's amazing. Otherwise, with respect to code, our code officers working hard. They're not perfect. If you do have an issue with the code officer, maybe you feel like they didn't handle something the best way, just contact me directly. They're human. They're doing their best. Sometimes they don't realize that they're dealing with a resident and maybe something could be handled a little bit differently. Just reach out to me. They're doing their best. And again, Trustee Pettit already brought it up about the protection. I just want to repeat myself since we're talking about the same things. But again, that's now in the tentative budget. the Suffolk County Police have basically said it in public that they don't have enough manpower to cover the village. So the concern of our residents is safety, and as a board, we feel like patrol protection is the best way for our, based on our residents to be protected at night. So it's something we can talk about as a board, we can continue to talk about it. We have it in the budget. Any questions, please ask the board. Okay? That's all I have to say.
Okay, great. I just have a couple of things. If anybody has time tomorrow at 5:30, the town of Islip is having their public hearing on allowing marijuana sales in the town of Islip. This doesn't affect the village of Brightwaters, but it does surround us. That's at 5:30 tomorrow at Islip Town Hall. Over the winter, we had the We Do boat was delivered. That's for the lily pads on the lakes. So probably in about a month, we'll be testing it out on the lakes, just doing some training with it. But we're going to be ahead of the lily pads this year, and hopefully they won't be spreading like they did in the past. Just one of our major things, we have about $260,000 in the budget from CHIPS. CHIPS money is from the state that we put towards roads. And we've gone through the whole cycle on the village. Every road in the village has been done now during the past 16 years, except for Orinoco. So one thing we're focusing on is right next to the Chinese restaurant, right next to the railroad tracks. We had a meeting with some of our engineers about putting the money this year not on a single road or a single road or two, but trying to clean up along the tracks. So next time you drive through town, look by the Chinese restaurant. You have the land is falling in. We're trying to set up a meeting with the MTA because we don't know where their property is. But if we go ahead and do that, it'll clean up that whole area a lot. So again, once we have our meeting and we find out where our property line is, then we'll decide what to do with that. That's all I really have for now. The rest we'll talk about as we go. All right. Next thing on the agenda, approve outdoor public assembly for the Bay Shore Fire Department to hold their fire. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I skip it?
No, you're
Oh, yeah. I've been doing it too. Make a motion to appoint Tom Sepp as the harbor master. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Do you want to do an acceptance speech on becoming the harbor master? All right, fine, thank you. Michael Kane did it for a few years. He did a great job. He said he didn't want to do it this year, so Tom is going to be taking over. Tom finishes in June. He's term limited out, so he's going to be stepping down from here. He's going to be hanging out on his boat more. So good luck with that. All right. Make them up. All right. Next thing on the agenda, one of our DPW laborers is going to be leaving. He got a different job, and we've already interviewed a person, and we'll be bringing him on next week. So I make an appointment to hire Douglas Schaefer, DPW laborer, at the rate of $26.11 an hour. Do I have a second? Second. All's in favor? Aye. Okay. Next thing is approve outdoor public assembly for the Bay Shore Fire Department to hold the 5K fundraiser on July 19th, 2025, and then use Walker Beach from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. Make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. All's in favor? Aye. All right, the public library uses the field on the south side of Montauk Highway for some of their events. Also in June, they're going to be having the big event with the Brightwaters Historical Society. They're going to be having an old-fashioned baseball game. They play, was it 1880 rules, and there's going to be a lot of information going out on that. The library is footing the bill for it, and they're doing it in conjunction with the Brightwaters Historical Society. That's going to be a great event. We'll start putting out information for that in about a month. But in the meantime, make a motion to approve outdoor public assembly for the Bay Shore Brightwaters Public Library to hold their story walks in the field across from the library for the whole month of July. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, the next thing, we can talk about it during the open part of the meeting. But we've been talking to other villages all the time, and we're doing a survey of what other villages in Suffolk County, what their terms are, what compensation they're getting. And once we accumulate all this information, we're going to be sending it out probably in about a week or two. I think, Nicole, we're just waiting for 1 or 2 more people to respond. We did a survey of every village in Suffolk County, their length of terms, whether they have term limits, and what the compensation is for the mayor and the trustees. So we'll be putting all that information together, and once we have it all together, it'll go out to the residents. So what we're doing is we're calling for a public hearing. I'll go through each one now. May 5th is the public hearing. Before May 5th, you'll have all this information. And then at the elections in June, the residents will vote yes and no on all 3 of these things. Everybody should have the agenda. Hopefully everyone's got the agenda that they can look at. Sully, do you have an agenda?
We ran out in the back. It's okay.
All right.
We got it on.
Okay, but all 3 things are on here. The only thing the board has to vote on one thing before the election. Charlie, you want to explain that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Article 9 of village law says that if you're going to expand the term of elected office, that has to go out for referendum. It has to be a ballot proposition. So we're doing from 2 to 4 years. But this board has decided that they wanted to visit the residents' input on all 3. So we're referring all 3 to referendum on the June 17th. Legally, we don't need to, but we are. So the only one that you have to adopt on May 5th, if the board does adopt, is the first one, changing the length of the elected term from 2 to 4 years. That will trigger the referendum process. And if the referendums are successful on all 3, then the other 2 laws get adopted at the next board meeting, the organizational meeting. If the referendum passes for the extension of the elected terms on June 17th, that automatically becomes a law. It's a little bit of a complicated scenario there. We're referring to things that don't necessarily require referral to a referendum process, but this board wants input from the public, so we're doing it that way. So we need to pass the first law, which is from 2 to 4 years of the term, to trigger the referendum process.
These terms don't affect this year's elections.
Correct.
So the compensation would be in this year's budget, but as far as changing the terms, whoever gets elected in June is only in for 2 years, and then when they run again, it would switch to the 4 years. So this does not affect any of the things. What I'll do is I'm going to end up calling for a public hearing. I'll read through these now, and I'll open it up for some discussion now. It's not the official public hearing, but since it's in front of us and on our minds, if people have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now before we have the public hearing on the budget. The official public hearing is next month. People don't have all the information in front of them, but if anybody has any questions, I'll take them after we approve to have the public hearing. Okay? That seems fair. Okay, call for a public hearing on May 5th, 2025 at 7:30 at Village Hall for the following laws. Number 1, to adopt local law pursuant to mandatory referendum that expands the length of the elected office of mayor and trustees from 2 to 4 years. Number 2, to adopt local law that changes the term limits of office of mayor and trustees from 4 consecutive 2-year terms to 3 4-year terms.
3 consecutive 4 years.
3 consecutive 4-year terms. Number 3, pursuant to New York State Village Law 5-508, to authorize the annual compensation of the mayor and trustees as part of the annual budget. I make a motion to have the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just to put on here also, the compensation for the mayor we're proposing is $5,000 annually, and the trustees at $2,500. So the total cost would be $15,000. Again, It's not an official public hearing. Do I have to do anything to open up a discussion?
No, it's free. We're free discussion.
Does anybody have any questions on this now?
Real quick question. It
Why
says
don't you Please say
consecutive.
your name.
Rich Dayhab, 10 Lakeview Avenue North. It says consecutive terms. So that means you could be on 1 year, off, and then on 3 more years? Or
Yes.
3 more terms?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that it's clear that you can actually have more than 3.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, everything, the key is consecutive terms, is that?
Correct.
All right. But you could, when it's on the referendum, you can vote for one, say change it from 2 to 4 years, but you can vote against from going from 8 years to 12 years. So we were just, again, by doing our surveys and seeing the way people are going, people are feeling the 8's not enough, so they're going to the 12. But again, that'll be up to the residents. Any other questions on this now? Paul?
Carl Fraser, 514 Richland Boulevard. I'd like to suggest that for this, especially question 2, can you develop a list of frequently asked questions that would help explain some of this change that's being proposed?
Yes. Well, when we put out the flyer, I didn't want to put it out. We could maybe have it done by the end of the week. We'll have it to everybody probably at the beginning of next week. On one side of it will be an explanation of why we're doing this, what a little bit of the history of the village, and on the other side it'll show at least 30 villages and what they got. We just did Suffolk County. Nassau County has 64 villages, I think, and a lot of them have maybe, 500 people or 1,000 people. So we just kept it to Suffolk County. So again, this is the preliminary, this is step 1. The flyer, the thing we send out, again, in the near future, we'll explain it, and then when we have the public hearing, again, we can discuss it more. If we don't vote on it in May, can we vote on it in June and it still be on the ballot?
I'm
Or
sorry,
is it
say
too
that-
tight?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Say we go to May, there's a lot of questions at the public hearing, do we have to vote on this in May, or
You have to vote on number 1,
And
expanding to 2 to 4 years. You have to.
that way there's enough time for the other?
Yes, because that triggers the referendum process, because the other 2 laws are not referendum required. We're forcing them there. The 2 to 4 years is required under the law, so you need that to trigger the referendum process.
Okay, so that's why this is the first step called information, public hearing, and then we go from there, okay? Chris?
The trustees and the mayor,
Please, and
Chris Pace, 506 North Windsor. Do the trustees and mayor's terms have to be the same?
Legally, no.
I don't know, Nicole, do you recall seeing anything different on our,
No,
I think
everybody
they're all the
else,
same.
all the villages that we surveyed had the same for mayor and trustees.
all the villages we received, the 29 people that we've gotten back from, we're just waiting for one more, all have the same terms. So, all right? Right now, the judge has a 4-year term, but, I'm not gonna say. What do you remember? Go ahead.
Is the judge still paid?
Right now, we are not proposing to pay the judge.
The judge used to be paid.
Nobody was ever paid.
The judge receives no compensation. He just gets elected. He doesn't get paid for it.
Chris is referring to the benefits.
If you're referring to the medical benefits, yes, he received medical benefits. Anybody else?
Yeah, Mark Franks, 447 Ackerson Boulevard. Just, does this have any financial implications once you get to that many years? Like, is there a pension involved that might kick in, or benefits for the employees?
No.
Anything that-
No, is
All employees.
it called a stipend? What is it
Well,
officially called?
It's a stipend. I don't know if we have to report it to the New York State Retirement System. That's a question that I'm going to work on with Nicole. I don't think so. That's optional, but there's certainly no benefits, and there wouldn't be any type of retirement implications or anything like that. I have to check out something specifically to make a definitive ruling on it, but as far as I know now, no, there's no ramifications from it.
When we put out the explanation, can we
We'll have that.
put that there's no pension, there's none of that? Please make sure we put that down. Anybody else, any questions on this? Again, this is the first salvo discussion. Okay, we'll go on to the next thing. Next thing is the budget. The budget, we had 15 copies of it. I don't know if people got a chance to glance through it. Right now, we are breaking the cap with this budget. This budget, the increase is 4.5. It's not percent up here. What is it, Nicole?
It's not the tax rate, it's 4.5% from the previous tax levy, from the previous year's tax levy.
Yeah, it's 4.5% increase from the previous tax levy. Most of the houses in the village will go up between $40 and $70 for the year. My house, Nicole, what'd you say, it's $54?
$54 based on a $54,000 assessment.
My taxes right now are $2,100, so with the increase, I'm going up $54. I would say I have a medium house in the village, so the taxes will be going anywhere between $40 and probably $70 for the year. That's at the 4.5%. A couple of the main things we had, again, we had the $44,000 increase from the fire department. It's going to be costing us more money with the overnight service that we're going to be using. That's going to add about $50,000. So those two items there really blew us over the cap. We're going to be taking $207,000 from our unappropriated funds to plug the hole in the budget. We have one bond that'll be paid off this year. It's $170,000, so we don't have to pay that $170,000 next year. So we're hoping that's going to, be the thing that plugs the hole next year. But our unappropriated fund balance is, we have to keep it at what, 16% over of our budget?
We gotta keep it over 6%, no more than 20.
No more than 20?
Yep.
We're over 20.
Yeah, so we're at about $600,000 is our reserve funds right now. So we're in pretty good shape with that. Nicole, do you want to add anything to what I've just said, or?
Well, we're at the end of the audit that we had on May 30th, 2024, we were at $830,000. So after this, we'll be at $600,000.
Right.
No, I think you went through everything, but if anybody has any questions.
Yeah. All right. Make a motion to open the public hearing on the 2025-26 tentative budget. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Before I open to the public, anybody on the board want to add anything?
I'd like to add something. Just, with the cost of everything going up, guys, like, we hate to be the bearer, like this news about our taxes going up, but, safety's been a big issue in this village, and when you look at, like, pro protection security, like these other things, it's literally the cost of, like, a pizza, a Caesar salad, and a couple drinks for your family. That's what's going to cost you over the year, like a one-time dinner. So I think with, like, certain areas in the village, like the village as a whole, we've been suffering with a lot of stuff, and we've been told again publicly that the Suffolk County PD does not have the manpower to cover the village for what we need tonight. So that's why, listen, I hate to spend extra money, everything's costing so much, but that's why I'm for increasing the budget the way we have.
I oppose it wholeheartily. I don't think that we've done our due diligence to hire pro protection just yet. That on top of this is kind of being the straw that is breaking our tax cap, I just don't think it's appropriate at this time to hire pro protection. I'm not sure if their added benefit is worth what the increase is going to be. It's about $60,000 last time I looked at the budget.
Yep.
I just don't think we're there to commit to this for the following fiscal year. With everything else going on, I recognize that safety is a main concern, but I just don't think that we have exhausted everything that we need to commit to such a big new addition to services that the village is going to provide. Also, I just think it's risky for us to hire what are armed guards for our village without really considering what we're getting ourselves into, and that's where I stand with this.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mary. Anybody else want to comment?
Yeah, I mean, we did have Pro Protection come to the meeting and explain what they do, and they do work in other villages. They actually work right here in Bay Shore at the new condos there in the middle of Bay Shore.
Tech building, right?
Yeah. You know, we'd be knocking off a good amount of money because we wouldn't be using an overnight code enforcer. And I mean, we've seen what's been going on around the village. You know, to actually have somebody who's going to be out there looking rather than just being in the village. I mean, it's going to be helpful. I personally believe it's going to be helpful. So that's why I think, you know, there's a lot of other things that go into this budget. Is that something that's bringing it up a little bit? Yes, but I don't think that's what's blowing us over the budget.
Okay.
It's a major contributor.
Okay. Pat, do you want to add?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, we'll go to the public. Joe?
Joe first, anyway, maybe, what will they do different than our code enforcement?
Well, the thing that's different is they're professionally trained officers. So we're hoping that they're going to be more proactive and looking for issues, looking for problems, and
So they don't get tickets?
no, they can give tickets.
Parking.
They can, yeah. They can, I say about not moving violations. They're not police officers, not moving. They can still do code violations. So the same as what our guys do now. You know, they're also going to be opening up the gates. They're going to be doing their duties. We're going to try it out. You know, we're not selling our code cars. We're not, you know, our guys are going to have the option to work some day shifts if they want. We're not looking to get rid of anybody. Hours will be cut back, but it just seems like we have to try this out. You know?
And it's only the overnight shift that they would be doing.
Yeah, probably 12 to 6 every night.
And we've been saying that code's not security, they're not trained for it, they've never been tasked with that responsibility. Pro protection is security, that's the difference.
Pro protection, they're going to have an actual retired NYPD officer in their own vehicle. They're not going to be using a village vehicle. And they have better contacts than we do with Suffolk County PD if there's an issue.
So we'll be able to call them like we do the code?
Correct. Yes.
Joe, we've been putting this off for a while. I think people have been asking us to take the next step. So, we're going to give it a shot. All right?
Carmine Spetta, 48 acres. So, obviously, I have some knowledge about this topic.
Recent knowledge.
You can, and maybe recent knowledge also. But I'm going to concur with what Mary is saying. Did you say it was an armed?
Is that on the record?
Whenever did I publicly disagree with you?
All right, keep it low, thanks.
Huh? Whenever did I publicly disagree with you?
That's an option.
So it's an option.
That's an option. We haven't,
Yeah. that's-
right now, we weren't doing it to June 1st. Today,
What I'm saying is you're going to be carrying a firearm.
that's one of our options. But
They're licensed, they have the option if the village wants it,
If the village wants
if
it.
the village wants
And
it.
as of now, if you do consider this, you haven't decided whether there will or will not be a firearm?
Right, because it's not till, anything we do isn't until June 1st. It's still.
So, look, I can tell you firsthand, when I was in charge of code, during my tenure at the Neighborhood Watch, we had a system in place for a period of time. We had 2 code enforcement officers on the overnight, okay? And I'm going to tell you, it was very effective. And it was effective not only because you had 2 people surveilling the village, but you also had someone who had a law enforcement background. That helped tremendously. And I saw Tony Rambasis in action. I gave him an issue. He was able to handle it in short order. Now, I don't know what happened with Tony and why he's not with the village anymore. That's the kind of person you need on. And the fact that you've got someone coming in with law enforcement background is definitely going to help. You're just not hiring someone to ride around the village at night half the time, and the other half we don't know what's going on. Let's be quite frank, okay? The problem you really have is that one person, whether he's experienced or not, is not going to be able to surveil the whole village. You really need to put a system in place where you have more than one person, in my opinion. One of the suggestions I had made, and one thing you may want to consider, look at the shifts, determine when the slow times are, when you don't need somebody on. steal daytime hours and allocate them to the overnight, because that's when you need the help. So this person may be a step up to what we have, but he can't do it alone, or she can't do it alone, that's for sure. So I'm not sure how much more effective they're
Talking
going
about
to be.
different issues during different times of the day. During the day, there's true code violations, which we need our code person for that. At night, we're talking about safety. Again, our code officer is not trained for safety.
I understand that.
They're not.
I
And we're putting them
understand
in harm's way by we've never had that term boots on the ground. It's,
Tom, I never suggested
no,
that
I
they
know,
should
but
get out of
you
the
are,
car
but you
and
keep
leave.
on. No, I don't, just disagree with you.
Huh? No, I'm just saying, I never suggested that they should be law enforcement, act like law enforcement.
Correct.
What I am saying is that there are things that they can do to be
By having two on at night, you're increasing the cost. It's just, we're gonna try this.
No, you're stealing hours from the daytime, slow hours, like from 4 to 6, 4 to 7.
Noise violations.
No, there's no,
Contract
they're
coming
to downtown, trying to keep the.
How frequent is, that's the point I'm trying to make, you make that evaluation to see if you can live with that and allocate, and not necessarily, increase the cost.
But Carmine, it sounds like you're agreeing that we need better
No, it's
security.
not a bad idea, but the firearm thing bothers me, but I'm not sure that paying the extra money is gonna get you a bigger bang for the buck, that's my point.
Well, I mean, Pro Protection was here and spoke to us at the meeting, and had some pretty good points, and they also brought up Flower Hill, which is a neighborhood that they worked in, where they had constant thefts overnight. They came in and it stopped. And we had somebody from the village who does a lot of work up there who concurred with them and said that they were having those issues, and they brought Pro Protection in, and they don't have that issue anymore. So I'm not swearing 100% that's going to be the case, but we're dealing with too many issues at this point for us to not do anything.
We've been dealing with these for ages.
So why not do something?
I think the issues, just to be very honest, have changed dramatically from when you were head of code to where they are now. Now we have basically not harassment, we actually have physical altercations, we have people with guns, being threatened with guns, we have a very bad element that is coming into our village because of where we live. And Pro Protection has proven already that they can handle those situations, and they're doing a very good job down at Tri-Tech. That place is completely surrounded by bad areas. I look at it this way, it's definitely worth trying. We're going to know very quickly because June, July, and August are the worst months in our village for people ransacking and bad things happening overnight. As the police officer just said, 1 to 4. That's when we're targeting them to be here. So we're going to know very quickly. I believe our contract has an out clause, 30 days, so if we don't see that it's beneficial to the village, we could reallocate that money.
Jennifer?
Jennifer Bartlett, 290 Windsor. So the budgeted line item, is that, I think you just answered the question, but is that a pilot or is that for a full year, 6 hours, 7 days a week?
It's a contract that we have at 30, I believe, Charlie, if I'm wrong, please jump in.
I think you're correct.
But I believe the contract that we reviewed, it's a contract with them a month to month, and then if we want to get out of the contract, either party wants to get out of the contract, we just have to give a 30-day notice.
They're budgeted for the whole year.
But they are budgeted for the whole
Full
year.
year budget. That's
Yeah, in the budget, I think it's about 100 and something for them.
It's 103 of them.
103 for them, and we're deducting the 50 for our person, plus the wear and tear on the cars. We have no cars overnight. They're providing everything for themselves. So even just the wear and tear on the car is an item. Our guys right now who work are labeled parking attendants. That's their civil service line, right? They're entitled. So we don't pay what retired police officers get. If we start upping that, then, Tom's also the police commissioner besides being the canal guy. So where do we stop? The things that, when I go to my meetings with the other villages who have police forces, it's a nightmare. Their whole budgets are geared toward these police forces. Southampton, Amityville, all these small villages up on the North Shore. Their police departments are a huge part of their budget, and they have a tremendous amount of problems with them. So if we just, we don't want to get to that. We don't want to up it from parking attendants to public safety officers to this. Now we're talking about a lot more training. All these guys that we have are fully trained people. For us to pay someone to do the same training is thousands, I can't even imagine what it is. So, it's just, the idea is to give this a shot. It brings us on to a different level of security for the residents. And yes, it does cost things, and, I know Mary, she wants to watch every penny, and I agree with that, but, it's just something that we were hit with the fire department, because they had a lot of increases, we're hit with this. Those two items are $100,000. So, again, I like to use the term in numbers, not percentages, so it's $40 to $70 per house.
Rich Dahan, 10 Lakeview Avenue North. What insurance do they carry, and what is the village's potential liability for misactions by this outside firm?
They gave the insurance requirements in their presentation. I'll have to get.
Our insurance company has certain requirements. They met their requirements. They have more insurance than we'll ever possibly need.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I went through it, yes. And the second part of your question?
And what is the potential liability for misactions? I'm not talking for...
Well, that all depends on what the misaction is. If it's something that's in the course of their duties, generally there would be no liability for the village. But it's something outside the course of their duties, depending upon how far outside that is, that's a case-by-case analysis. The village can always be liable for something if someone does something wrong, but it's a case-by-case analysis. And right now we're covered under our insurance policy if they do something outside the scope of their duties, or something within the scope of their duties that results in a deleterious effect. So you have to look at it case by case. I can't give you a straight
It'd be nice to know the amount of insurance that they cover. If they have $1 million, it's useless. If they have $100 million,
no, they have many millions of dollars. I just don't know the number. I just don't remember the number. But there are many millions of dollars. I looked at the policy. Yeah, well covered. Well covered.
Rich, if you call tomorrow, she'd be happy to send
I'd like
it
to know what
to
the
you.
number is.
If anybody else would like to call, would you?
Call.
Joe McDermott, 540 Potter. Just a question on the compensation. What was those numbers for the compensation?
$5,000 for the mayor, $2,500 for trustees.
That's what the board's going to propose at open public hearing?
Yeah, that should that be on here?
No, Ms. Mayor, respectfully, you can't put, well, it's recommended that you don't put a number in the code, that you just allow a line item in the budget, and then you have flexibility to move the line in the budget, the amount in the budget. If you put it into the code, you have to have a public hearing every time you want to increase it or decrease it.
Okay, so that's part of my question. So if you say, I'm going to tie this into the budget, I'm going to say my main question for that. So if you say we're proposing 5,000 and passes on June 17th, to what Charlie says, if you don't think it's enough, you can increase it because you already voted yes for compensation.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. You don't have to vote on a specific number. They're voting on just the ability to have compensation, and then the trustees, in their discretion, if they want to keep it at that level or raise it or decrease it, you have the flexibility without having public legal notices and discussion, etc. However, it would be part of the budget, which would be published in a public hearing.
If they want, and they think they need more, and they vote amongst themselves, they can take it out of contingency, they can take it out of the thing. It can, Charlie, it can happen. That's just
Yeah, why can't we put in somewhere, where do we put in somewhere that it's required to have a public hearing to change the number?
Well, we have to, if we can add that clause into the law. We don't have it in the law. Now we can add that into the law saying, if you wanted to change the number, you have to have a public hearing. But I would recommend strongly that you don't put a number in the code. That's for budgetary purposes, and that's really the right way legally to do it. But if you wanted to put in the code, should the trustees, should compensation pass, and should the trustees want to change the amount of compensation up or down, they have to have a public hearing.
Charlie, can we put it in, can't exceed more than $15,000 without a public hearing?
You can.
So that way, the total compensation for the entire board would be no more than $15,000.
Okay.
So let's do that.
We can do that.
That goes on here, or?
That would go on here.
I think if it's going to be changed, it's got to be discussed.
Well, it's always going to be discussed, right? Yeah. I don't mean to infer otherwise.
No,
It would always be
I don't like
discussed.
the ambiguity, like, what he's saying. What Joe's saying, I don't like the ambiguity of that, because once we're no longer board members, somebody could raise it 50 grand if they want to. I don't like that.
So the other part is, since we are overriding the cap, getting to my budget question, although it's a small amount as of now, $15,000, that goes to part of the reason why you're overriding the cap, because it's a separate line. It wasn't in there last year. It's a new line item, so that contributes to overriding the cap.
Well, if we took it out, we would still be over the cap.
Yeah, no, but it's still
Contributing to
it
the
still
Absolutely.
adds to the cap.
Absolutely.
Right. Thanks.
Go on.
I have a few questions on the budget. Carl Fraser, 514 Richmond Road. A few questions on the budget. I did go through the budget items, and I did call Nicole, and she was able to give me some answers that I had needing clarifications on. But starting with the cap, overriding the cap, piercing the cap, which is not a good thing. So, what can we do to have a budget within the cap? So my question is, what's the dollar impact of keeping the budget? What adjustments in the budget has to be made to keep the budget within the cap?
Reducing the balance in the
How much?
240,000, I believe it is.
On balance, 207,000.
If we went back.
Oh, yes, yeah.
240,000 addition, right?
Yeah.
240,000?
No,
Not additional.
40,000.
40,000
No.
to reduce the cap, the budget to stay within the cap.
It's
Yeah.
about 34,355
Okay.
to add to the.
So with that said, I know we talked about the security, the increase in security. We added 103,000, but we reduced 50,000 on that top line there, code enforcement, night work. Can we look at possibly changing the hours of this projected cost for night security to get us closer to that cap number? And that's one suggestion. Secondly, on the revenue side of the budget, interest and earnings, looks like we are low on that line. We've been getting interest and earnings. I see the last number was 64,000. The year before was 90,000. We're budgeting 35,000. So if we increase that, I think between increasing your revenue, possibly on this line, and also reducing some of the costs in that security line, will get us within the cap. And I think we should be
I
safe.
think, Carl, I just recommended, and Nicole didn't want to increase the interest line because that's not a definitive revenue source every year. You can base it on trend lines, but she was very conservative with that number. But I suggested just reducing the fund balance, but I was helpful.
Well,
Not piercing the cap.
But how much piercing the cap, there's no negative about piercing the cap except for it's a fictitious cap that the New York State came up with to use. Breaking the cap doesn't put us in any
But the fund balance.
bad
also-
thing, anything. Lowering our fund balance lower and lower, if we ever have an issue, another storm, then
I mean, the fund balance is public money to be used for public interest. That's how I look at it. And it's not getting lowered that much that I feel that we're going to be in any dire straits. So this is an argument that we've already had.
yeah,
But
but
in piercing the cap, doesn't it, are we actually increasing the property taxes more than it should be to pierce the cap?
Yeah, it's like 34,000.
Yeah,
yeah,
so,
we're bringing in another 34,000. So
Over 11,000 houses. 11,000.
again, right now, if you take 230,000 out of our fund balance, you're going to be getting 170 next year. So you're going to be 60,000 short next year. Are you going to just keep taking it out of the fund balance, or are you going to turn around, these people and say, I need a 10% increase
Well,
next
we
year.
also don't have an exact number because the audit from this year showed that we were at 800,000 over. So we were actually 200,000 more than we're supposed to be. So until it's audited, I don't agree with those numbers because the numbers get flooded. So
Yeah, it's hard to do this, like you do this in the middle. You know, our fiscal year is June 1st. A lot of things go by calendar year. It's a lot of crossings, so sometimes Nicole, again, likes to be conservative, which I appreciate it, and we try to keep it as tight as we can. And if we find we have, I'd rather have extra money than not. So, again, I think the thing I fear is how much the school's going to kill us. Because the schools, I don't know what we're going to be killed as far as the bond they have to take out to pay for all the lawsuits. So our unforeseen thing is the schools. You know, 4% of my $10,000 school bill is $40 to $400. Okay, so 4% of what I need is, you know, between $40 and $70 for people. So what we do affects people's lives and people's, every time they walk out of their houses. It's money that that costs this village. The roads, what we provide in our services, the camp pays for itself, the beach costs us a couple of dollars, the canal pays for itself. So we try to have the users who do the things pay for what they have. I think Christian Sullivan's going to talk about it later, but even all the music on Thursday nights, we had sponsors last year, so that didn't cost us anything. So we're trying to have the people who use the facilities and use the extra things to pay for them. But I just feel that if we keep chopping, again, if you're 230 this year, where are you getting that next year? I'd rather not have a gun to my head. I think we're in good shape. All the roads have to be started again. And if anybody can go online, we have when your road was done, or I think the latest ones you have to get from the office. But roads were taken forever and ever, and then there was a point where Mayor McNulty did about 8 or 9 roads in 1 year. Then hardly anything was done for a while, and then Mayor Joe did about 10 or 12 roads in 1 year. So these two big things, people took out, they deleted what they had, they took out a bond. So we can't afford to fall behind again. Again, my goal is to try to clean up the downtown along the tracks because it looks terrible. Next time you go down there, look by the Chinese restaurant. You have cars practically sliding into the tracks. So that's probably a $200,000 project to do that road. And we have the $250,000 in the CHIP money. The CHIP money could only be spent on roads. So that's what I would like to do to clean that up. So, every year trying to get exact numbers to go over the finish line, I don't think it's the way to do it. So again, it's just a discussion.
So by piercing the cap this year, 25-26,
right,
you should be in better shape going forward the following year. So the concern is piercing the cap this year and having the possibility of doing it another year, consecutive year. So what you're saying, by having the extra money to do things that are needed, which requires piercing the cap, then you should be in better shape going forward. I
believe so. I'm not saying we're running. There's always somewhere to spend money in the village. We got our highway building done. The only reason why we got the highway building done is because we got $325,000 in COVID money that we could only put towards certain things. By being able to put that towards the highway building, we gave the guys a clean, safe working environment. That's how we were able to spend that towards that. We got $325,000 from that. We got almost $200,000 from the mini storage place in fees and taxes, and we took $100,000 from the village. So that building wouldn't ever happened without COVID money. Okay, so we're trying to use the pieces when we get them. So right now, the cabin's done. Most of our major things are done. There are some buildings at the highway yard that do need fixing. The beach is in good shape. The canal's in pretty good shape. So we hope all the big projects are over with. but you never know. You get one bad storm, and next thing you know, we're in trouble. So, again, I would prefer not to go any lower, just to say that we didn't break the cap. Breaking the cap, there's no cap police that are gonna come in and say, you guys are bad, you broke the cap. So, I like to try to work in numbers, where we, not caps, not, what is Nicole, percentage of this and that. I said, no, how much is it? So it's $40 to $70 per person in the village. So, anybody else? Don?
Don Schrader, 490 Pine Acres Boulevard. The fire department, a number of years ago, there were talks with the fire department about making us a covered area instead of a protected area. Apparently nothing ever happened.
No, I don't know where that, are there any fire department people here? Joe, do you know anything about that?
The protected areas north of Sunrise, fire district runs from Saxon Avenue to Sunset Road, Sunrise Highway to the back. Supposedly, had the approval, the town of Islip wanted to have the protected areas go away because it's part of their budget. And by making the protected areas part of the fire district, that takes that money out of the town of Islip and brings her money down.
Is it a wash for us, do you think? It would be cheaper for us?
Part of the expression, but who can be higher on the fence is, and whose fiefdom is what it is. And it's eventually going to happen. Now, I don't know if the village would need to be part of that. That's up to the village. But as far as protected areas, that's going to become part of the district eventually.
But now, Bob, were you the one telling me up by you, they changed it and it actually cost the village more money to become part of that district? Someone told me that.
They weren't members of the fire district. They were just paid. They had a contract every year that they paid. But then they became part of the fire district, the St. James Fire District.
Can you guys hear Bob back there?
The village taxes went down.
You gotta be loud.
The regular town of Smithtown taxes went up. So I don't think there was a net savings to the taxpayer, but it got the village could then vote for the fire commissioners.
Right.
They had a voice in how the.
Yeah, right now, we can't vote on any of the fire commissioners. We can't vote on anything. We're basically told this is what we owe. There's no negotiating. There's nothing involved in that. So I know they're getting killed in insurance and training.
Mr. Mayor, I misspoke. We have a newly elected second assistant chief, Kyle Loaches, is here.
Carl, how come you're taking so much of our money, Carl?
So the fire department and fire district are two separate entities. So this is a fire district issue, not a fire department issue. The fire district itself is a very small area, like Jody was saying. It's from Saxon Avenue to Brentwood Road, Sunrise Highway to the water. That's it. The people that live in Brightwaters Farms, West Bay Shore, and Brightwaters don't have any say in commissioners or whatnot. The district is trying to consolidate and grow the district by taking in Brightwaters Farms and West Bay Shore within the next year or two. I believe is the plan. As far as the incorporated village, I'm not sure of the parameters of how they could be incorporated. The only benefit that would be is you have an opportunity to vote for and run for fire commissioner should that have happened.
There you go, John. Next kid.
Yeah. Right, thank you. So you really didn't answer our question whether it would be more expensive if we're in the district or out of the district. So, Carmine?
You were at plenty meetings when Mayor McNulty told us that we would bear a greater cost.
If we were in the district.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
no
thought I heard
question
that.
about it. And it was relatively speaking significant.
Yeah, I thought I heard that too.
No doubt about it. He said it numerous times.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions on the budget?
I just wanted to ask you, you're going to send out something concerning the village security and the other villages?
Yeah.
You mentioned.
Well, not security, we're going to send it out about the term limits and the pay.
Term limits and the pay, right?
Right.
Could you include in that if it's possible, the populations of those villages,
They're in
the
there.
really budgets of those villages, and the square miles of those villages?
We have the population.
You may have this.
Budgets, I would have to look, research that, but that would take a while.
I believe we have the population, I don't know if we have the size, I mean, the geography, but we do have the population.
Yeah.
As far as the security is concerned in the village, how do we handle overnights right now?
We have one person that's on at night, and, you know, they patrol the village. One of our regular guys.
They make phone calls, and they answer phones if there's a problem.
Yes.
Is there any guarantee that these village security people are going to be former police officers?
Yes.
Or are they just rent-a-cops?
They're
Now,
active.
they actually hired a former retired PD officer from our village.
And they're, yeah.
There's no guarantee of that.
No, there is.
Oh, there is.
Oh, there is.
Yes.
Yeah, all the people they have are professional.
Ex-police or...
But they can only make a phone call to the 911.
In theory, yeah.
So they can't do anything other than that.
The difference in these guys is that they're going to be proactive and look for issues and not just coast. Just say coast without.
The fire department uses our park and has events in quiet waters. Do they compensate us for the village personnel that have to clean up and set things up for them?
When the fire department has their event at Walker Beach, they clean up everything themselves. They take everything with them.
So we have no employees that...
No, we will have probably 4 highway people on that day. They close the roads, because we close all the roads with the cones and the barriers, and we pick them up. So 4 guys.
Compensated from that?
Not on that day, no.
Fire department?
No. The fire department helps us out anytime I need them for events. They're here when we have the Halloween parade. They show up for camp. They show up for Memorial Day. They show up at our block parties. Some people who use it have to pay $500, but with the fire department, we waive that fee. And again, when they have their events, they clean up. I don't even know, do we take the garbage? I guess we take it.
No, they take all the garbage.
They take all the garbage with them. So.
Okay, thank you. And the only other question I have is, what was the thought process in changing the term limits, changing the terms of everyone, considering I know that there's issues with getting enough people to run for the positions and filling the spots, okay? I'm wondering what the thought process is of having somebody come in and say, well, yes, I can commit for 4 years instead of commit for 2 years, and that sounds better to me. I can understand, 3 terms. I really don't know why we need term limits at all. But
I don't mean to stop you, but we're in the budget hearing. If you want to add that, when we go back.
I'll answer it, Jack.
Yeah, I mean.
I'll answer it because I'll answer it because this is really, I was the one that instigated this whole thing. If you come to any meeting in the village for a monthly meeting, we probably get about 6 people here, maybe 4. If you ask people to volunteer, the same group of people volunteer all the time. There is really very few people that really want to be a trustee or the mayor in this village. We need to get more people involved in politics. And if you have to run every 2 years and run a flyer that costs you $700 to run a flyer to let people know that there's an election, what is the compensation? When I go to different functions on behalf of the village, I have to use my own personal vehicle. If I have to do something for the village, I have to use my own personal money. So for people who have kids who are going to be leaving their kids and have 2 meetings a month and then go to other things to represent the village, what is the compensation? Why would they want to do this? So we need to make it equitable. So when you look at the stuff that you're going to look at, you're going to look at villages like Bellport, which I think is very similar to us, and they all get compensated, and their terms are different. So what I'm trying to do is make it easier for people when I'm done and John's done and Tom's done. We have good leadership in this village, because if you don't have good leadership in this village, it can very quickly go the wrong way. So that's why that's why I instigated this to happen.
Patrick, I didn't question.
No, I'm telling you, I'm just
I
talking
didn't
it out.
question your compensation.
Yeah, no. It's really not about the money. It's more about.
I'm questioning the 2 years to 4 years, and as you said, getting more people involved.
Right.
And with people making a commitment. Why would people want to make a 4-year commitment to enter this situation when they could enter for a 2-year commitment? And then if everything went well, they went for another 2 years. And if they were compensated, they were compensated. I'm not questioning
No,
that.
I think it's because more that's in line, and the 12 years instead of no term limits is because there was the board prior to us wanted term limits. And the 2 years instead of 4 years is because running every 2 years, it's a lot of time commitment to do certain things, and you got to spend money to do that. So it'd be less of a barrier to entry for somebody who wanted to do the position. And the 12 years is basically like, that is pretty standard when we start looking at other villages. So that's kind of where that all came from. It wasn't just like, this sounds great. So we looked at other villages, what they're getting compensated. We looked at village size compared to us, what their term limits were. A lot of them don't have term limits actually, and then what their length of term was. To be honest with you, I love being a trustee, but every 2 years having to go out and get signatures and then do a flyer, I just kind of like, this is silly. I'm spending $1,000 and all this extra time to do something that's a volunteer job. It just didn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? And, as we go on in life, I got kids in college and I want to enjoy them before they go on to their own world. So, I just look at it. I have some couple of people that have been talking about being trustee, have little kids, and they're going to leave their kids and come out to a meeting twice a month, and they're going to have other things, there are other conversations they're going to have with emails and have to respond to residents. I just don't see that people wanting to do this.
I don't either.
So that's the
I agree
problem.
with you 100%. That's one of the reasons why I say I believe that, possibly I'd be afraid that we're going to discourage people by saying, when you sign up for this job, you're in for 4 years. You don't like it, you got family issues, you got a problem, you're in for 4 years. Yeah, okay, you can resign, obviously, you can resign the position. That's not why people get into it. They don't get into it to resign.
Right.
So that's my question as to what the thought process was, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, I mean, Christian Sullivan's done a great job of helping us try to identify people. The board is always talking to different people. Like, I speak to a lot of people involved in, the volleyball team and different things. And, the same answer comes all the time. I had somebody who really wanted to do it because, Pat, I just don't have the time to do this right now. And I'm like, and I thought he would be a great trustee. Is one of my names. I thought he'd be an outstanding trustee, and he really thought about it. And he was visiting his son in college, and he goes, Pat, I just can't. These next couple of years, I just can't do it. I think I'll revisit in a few years, but that's what we're fighting right now.
We love him on the zoning board, and we want to keep him there.
No, that's not the person you're talking to. Think of.
All right, let's just get through the budget. We're going to be getting out that information about the terms and the compensation.
Thank you.
I would say next week, and then we have the public hearing next week. Any other questions on the budget?
Just Arthur X 447 Atkinson Boulevard. I just feel that number one, the security issue, the guards or officers, whatever they're going to be called. I do also agree that that's a step in the wrong direction. Maybe 2 code enforcers to do 9 if possible. Because it doesn't sound like they're going to do a heck of a lot more. You had said they're going to do some sort of investigation or proactive. I don't know what proactive is. That means sneaking around the corners?
No, I mean actually looking when you're driving around.
Don't tell me that.
No, they're gonna, if you had seen when
The code enforcers don't look as they drive around?
No, but when they came and when they told us what they were gonna do, they are proactive.
Yeah.
They're going and if they see something that is out of the ordinary, they're gonna look into it.
If you're adding a second car and a second guy on, you're spending more money in the end.
Yeah, but you're not going to spend another $57,000.
Yes, you will.
Yeah.
You will.
On an annual basis? How much is this
number?
I think it's 103,000.
But you said you took off one code enforcer and it's only 57
Times
One
two.
shift.
So that's only, one shift, so that's only about 40,000 for a code enforcer.
57 times 2 is 114.
codes. Yeah, you multiply it
And then you have an extra car. You have all the wear and tear on cars. I'm now buying another car. For what? For guys
So
that
they took the car out of the budget.
Let's hope the guy gets it done.
Oh, all right.
That's what we're gonna say. You know, we're gonna say.
Yeah, no, I
You
understand.
know, it's just talking about it and talking about it forever. It can't hurt to do it right now.
And I just think at this time, with this environment and everything else, it's not a good time to be raising taxes also, even if it's a couple dollars a day.
Don't disagree.
It's gonna be tough.
Mike Lillo, 1 year ago. Here's my feeling on it. If they have a good relationship with Suffolk PD, they're going to know the cars that they have to look for. They're going to get intel, they can canvass the area, they'll be able to see the people they're looking for, see the cars that they're looking for, and its presence. Because right now we have no presence. There's no presence whatsoever in the village. Once you go to the firehouse on Union Boulevard, which is inside the village, there's no presence of PD. All right, we got to do something. I don't know what the long-term goal is, like when we get it down next year, what do we do? But I think it's worth a shot now. We just put a $30,000 fence up at Walker Beach. Not one person questioned it, right? But we're worried about this.
No, let's go with
No, my point is, we had a home invasion inside the village, where someone saw it on their garage camera. Like, we're okay with that? Or if that's acceptable? I don't think so. So I think this is a step in the right direction. And we're trying it out. Is it in 30 days we don't like it? If it's not working, or a year, we won't renew. But I think something has to happen, because we've been coming to every meeting the past year and a half, 2 years. And at least we're being proactive right now. All right? So
we don't, from what I saw in the beginning, we don't even know what happened this month. We don't know there's a larceny going on, we don't know something did this, there's no communications at all.
Well, we've been following the police, we've been following the police report over the last year.
Between this group and Suffolk County, we don't know what happened until you get this piece of paper report.
No, but what it doesn't show is
a rape or something else like that.
these reports that they give us are 4 or 5 things, which, if anybody believes only 4 or 5 things happen in the village, they're kidding themselves. So there's people walking down the blocks at all times. There's a lot of almost, there's a lot of people, I see people on my Ring camera. So there's, I would say every night, there's probably somebody walking through the village checking a car or 2. So that's why by bringing these guys in.
I do hear that a lot.
Yeah, so we're not kidding us. We just, you know, we ask the officer questions because they take the time to, you know, we have to engage in some kind of dialogue to see what they say. This was her first time here. I feel bad for her, but they should be giving us the same person every time. It's putting a new person in, but that's the way in the police department, you know, it is. They give us what they can, and it's not overly helpful.
Yeah, just so you know, one of the reasons I really want to give it a try is because now they're not our employees. They're our employees, but they're a contractor, and they have to produce results. And one of the things that they do is they look at patterns and trends, and they know when to surveil different areas. And that's something that they work on with their metrics and their whole system. So, you know, how they see results is that they see where there's high incidents, and they make sure they're in those areas. So yeah, the village is pretty spread out. I mean, you've got two, you know, basically onto Highway, and you got Union. But if they see an area, like if they see like there's a lot of issues in Lombardi at 1 o'clock in the morning, they're going to be going up and down Lombardi. So you know, like I said, we'll know very quickly. June, July, and August, we always have almost on a weekly basis or nightly basis people rifling through people's cars, and people leave their car doors open. And they get more brazen because now if you look at the incidents that are happening, they're not just going into cars, they're going into backyards. And they're trying to see if there's anything backyards. Last summer we had a bunch of people that went into the yards and went into the shed and stole stuff out of the sheds. So I hate to say this, like I drive my wife to the train station, I don't let her park there anymore. And I go down there in the morning, and it's usually quiet in the morning, but when I pick her up at 7, 8 o'clock at night, it's horrific. It's really just a bad situation. I don't feel safe with her getting off the train. And Carmen actually sat my wife one night when she, which I appreciate Carmen, when I was running a little late to pick her up. but it's not a really safe place down there. And those people are migrating because what's happening is Bayshore is pushing them out of there. They took one of the bus stations down, they moved the bus station, they're pushing them, so they're gonna keep coming our way. We've had homeless people that are mentally ill in our village, like basically sleeping on Montauk Highway in the middle of the day. We had our code guy go there, but the reality is they're not supposed to do that. And it puts them in a very dangerous situation. So for me, I really want to test it because I know that with what's going on in Bayshore, it's just going to get worse here. And if we don't nip it in the bud right away, I think it's going to be a real bad summer. I really do. I personally feel that. But like I said, we'll know real quickly, I think, in 3 months. So.
And Andy Ryan, 432 Lombardi. I just want to add, because you said there was, on the report there's 5 things this month, this last month. I called, I got back on December 10th of 2024. I actually came back from the gym at 6 in the morning. I got basically a gun pulled on me. Called the police. They came an hour later, tried to write a police report. It was a central complaint. It was never reported in the next meeting, but I actually got a gun pulled on me at 0600 on December 10th. And, from a distance of 20 yards. He pulled his waistband up, he had a gun on him, and I called the police. It showed up an hour later, so they didn't put that in the report because they just did a central complaint. So having these, and honestly, potentially armed guard would probably be better. Because, I'm 20 yards from this guy. I don't know if the gun is loaded or not.
Right.
My children are in the house. I would want someone to come and help me out. Or, what about if I had a gun? I shot him, Because eventually, people in the village living here might, I'm not going to say retaliate, but someone does that. Someone's got, as armed themselves, they might do it themselves to protect their children. So it is happening. There is crime that even if you do, that's not being reported on these things. So that's just one thing. I'm not trying to say, I'm not going against what you're saying, but it is happening. Actual, guns are being walked around with people on foot. These guys have guns.
Okay, let's get back to the budget. Any more questions on the budget?
Put that out there.
Okay. Make a motion to close the budget hearing. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. You guys want to wait, vote on the budget or wait till the April?
Get it done.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the budget 2025-2026. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next thing is the treasurer's report. Make a motion to approve the treasurer's report and abstracts. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Before I open it up to the public for open discussion, anything else from the board? Make a motion to open up the public hearing. Second? Comments?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, does anybody else have anything else they'd like to bring up? Rich?
As usual, I always try to get I'm trying to get rid of the 2-cycle, the leaf blowers. We're behind the curve. And one of the arguments that's always been said is that it costs money. In the governor's budget, there is money for commercial landscapers to get reimbursement for part of it. It's on a first-come, first-served basis. If we're not near the front of the line, our guys aren't going to get it and they're going to complain. We have an opportunity to put in an ordinance, get them compliant with that ordinance, and they can get money back from the state.
That hasn't passed yet, right?
No.
It's good. That's one that's not controversial. It'll probably be in there.
Didn't they give them 5 or 10 years to change over, if I recall? I know I have the article on my desk, but it was like a long time for them to convert.
There's a long time for them to do it, but the money runs out. It's a first come, first serve. So if you're at the head of the line, you'll get your money. If you wait 3 years or 4 years, there may be money, there may not be money.
Yeah, one of the places, I think it was Huntington, reversed it because there was so much pushback on it that they had the order, and then...
There's always going to be pushback from these guys. You know that.
If we're going to do it, we have to decide this year to create it for next year. We can't change them over now.
Right, but if we do it next year, then you got to do it for the year after. So the time to do it for 2020.
Put it number 4 on the agenda, on the vote.
Why not?
We have, what do we have, 77 landscapers right now?
No, we're over 100.
We're over 100.
last year we had 130 licensed and insured landscapers working in the village. Every one of them has about 2 houses on a block. Instead of the old, like I repeat myself, they used to have the whole street and they would come one day. It's not like that anymore.
It's continuous.
Every street has 8 or 9 of them easy. So there's, Nicole, we over 100, we're over 100 again, right? Easy. It's 130.
So from 8 in the morning until whatever it is, 6 o'clock at night, it's continuous in my neighborhood.
All right, I promise that we'll stay with this and
Come to the next meeting.
come to the working meeting.
When we get some information to discuss with the.
Come to the working.
Actually have some information.
Come to the working meeting. All right, no, okay, thank you. No,
I think that's something the planning board should look at.
anybody, that's a planning board issue?
I think they should look at it, yeah.
I think so. Chris, you just waiting?
I haven't moved yet.
Anybody else?
No, actually, I just said I haven't moved. Some things I brought up in the past, and hopefully they didn't get done, so. The turn, when you come out of North Windsor, come to the Sunrise service, the right-hand turn in lane, right? It's confusing people. Yesterday, I'm coming up to North Windsor, I stop at Sunrise. A bus is coming. It has its blinker on. It's in that lane, and it continues going right to the
It's going right on Howard.
Yeah. Correct. That's not what that turn-in is. I bring it up all the time.
So how do you stop that?
You make so the turn has to continue so that it's one line. Because what it is it has make a right, but no continuation right there.
So there should be the first right turn is Windsor.
Correct.
And then they should have was it ever 2 different lines?
There was never a turning. There was never a turning. There used to be a blinking light there.
Yeah.
It's really dangerous. We're going to have a major.
Is that county? That's county, right?
But I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything.
Just be careful. Look both ways.
No, it's serious because people get confused. They don't, people don't drive that well.
No, I know you have to hesitate. I know what you're saying.
Okay.
I'll have Jeannie call the county tomorrow. Maybe we could get some kind of
A straight and a turn arrow.
No, it's just to make them two different right-hand turns.
Yeah.
I'll just continue. You mentioned that the road behind the Chinese place is a mess. Brought this up last year about those whatever those metal things are.
Yeah.
Because we don't
Well,
have,
on the west side, you have all the metal boxes there. It looks like crap. When the MTA guy meets us there to go over the road, we'll bring him over there and we'll ask him, what can we do here? Can we put up fences right
and if we can do a fence, that can be just easily graded. We can get a mural, welcome to Brightwater, something that says you're in Brightwater.
We have to check with the guy if we can put the fences that close to the machines, the boxes.
Correct.
Now it's a wall of boxes, I know.
That would be great. Just something could happen.
Yeah, when we get the MTA people here, we'll go over that too.
Okay, next question. I don't know if anyone walks under the overpasses for Sunrise. It's always had garbage. It's garbage. Now it is disgusting. And the only reason I bring these things up is, we try to tout ourselves as such a beautiful village, but literally, right on the outskirts of us, it's disgusting, right? If you're near Bruno's and you have those empty buildings, Sunrise, disgusting underneath there, the train tracks, disgusting. We don't look that good.
Well, right now, under the overpasses, our guys have been going over there and doing something. We're not supposed to do it because it's New York State, but we've been going over there and doing it. So,
I don't know.
That's basically a couple homeless people make that their temporary shelter and they leave their junk there. That's
no, it's like papers.
Well, but it's also there's people that live up there. Periodically, they're being kicked out of there.
Maybe
But our guys are just there. Our guys just did a major cleanup over here last month. They did a major cleanup over at the on Orinoco area too. I mean, they are doing it. It's just there's people that just dump stuff.
And the sidewalks who's the sidewalks?
That's the county.
Because we've lost the sidewalks. Right? The grass grows in, now it's a dirt path. We actually have sidewalks. So to walk to places that are in right ways, those sidewalks supposed to be
We'll find out whether it's county or state. That's probably county. Because the service road is state, but
I
our
would
road
just do
is
it. My
county.
wife would kill me. You know that. She will.
Yeah, we're not supposed to be going on their property doing this stuff. You know, Mike and the guys are picking up garbage because we're just trying to keep ahead a little bit. So we'll try to make arrangements with the county person to find out that they come and tell us it's the state's problem, and the state guys can come and tell us it's the county problem. And it's just...
They come like once a year, they do a major cleanup. And
Joe?
The lamp post on Orinoco by National Grid, are we responsible for that, or are they?
Mike, what's the story with that one that's been down for 2 months?
Belongs to National Grid.
It's National Grid. So,
I guess it's been down for quite a while.
So that landscaper knocked it over, contacted me through somebody else, and I had them contact the village, and the village told them they had to reach out to National Grid, and that's where it's been since.
yeah, we gave them the pole sizes because they're true to our specs, so it should be any minute. That's been laying there easily 2 months. So, I know what you're talking about. Anybody else? Carl?
2 quick items. Talking about a traffic study, I'm not sure whether this was mentioned. Are there specific areas within the village that is going to be focused on during the study?
They're doing the north side of the village. They're doing, really, they're doing the whole north side of the village. They're doing, because we called them back up and we added Peter and Potter, right? Peter and Ackerson. Yeah, no, they're doing everything north of the village. They do a count on all the cars. They can give us the speed of the cars. So first they're dealing with the numbers, all right? When they compile the numbers, then we're going to meet with them and do it. Like one of our biggest problems is the four corners, right? The horrible intersection, everyone double parked there. So when we sit with them, we're going to ask for recommendations at different spots. The end of the party, where there's a lot of blind spots down there. We're going to ask them what their recommendations are there. So first they have to get the numbers. We'll invite them to a meeting. We'll invite them to one of the meetings once they get their numbers and present to the residents what their recommendations are. So, it's just going to be interesting to see what they say.
And the other thing is, it's a sad situation. I understand one of our turkeys was killed by the train. And is anyone going to adopt the male guy that hangs out there in the corner?
Well, both of them were males.
So they were both
yeah,
males?
they were both males.
Oh.
I'm told. They said they were both males. Yeah, one was hit by a train over by the new apartments. They were hanging out, and one went. Now, I've had people ask me, can we bring another one in? A wildlife person says you're not supposed to bring one in. He's supposed to go and find his own mate and bring her back. I don't know where he's going to find his mate. I don't know. Like right now at our lakes, the swans, our swans, it's their lakes. So if any other swans go into our lakes, they'll chase them the heck out of there. So I guess in the turkey world, maybe it's the same thing. I don't know. If we picked him up and took him down to Islip, south of Montauk Highway, where a bunch of turkeys are hanging out, is that good, or are we going to get him beat up? I don't know, so I can't get a straight answer from anybody, I mean, I wish I could, and, News 12 came, because I guess somebody called them, and I'm talking to a guy about turkeys, and I'm trying to keep a straight face, so, and trying not to sound too stupid, too, so that's very difficult, so I don't know, it's a neat thing to have. When the turkeys first came, people were saying what a nuisance they were and all, but once everybody got used to them, every time they come in town, they're looking to see where they are. So, it's been fun. It's unfortunate what happened. And if anybody knows what I'm supposed to do, please tell us, and we'd be happy to do it. So, Chris, one more?
Yes, please. Is it possible to turn the water on at the end of the week, since Wednesday is the last school day?
15th, Chris. And the water, I believe, is on.
You mean the water at Walker Beach? Yeah, the bathrooms are just about ready to go. We're waiting for 2 sunny days in a row.
I believe the water's on those.
So, no, it's, we're about to turn them on. They're ready to go. They're ready to go. Again, it's just, I think it springs here. Carmen?
Yeah, just a quick comment about the, since you're going to vote on putting it on the ballot for approval, compensation. Further to Joe's point, Charlie's explanation about stipulating in the law that has to go, we have to have a public hearing. How do we go one step further? Because a public hearing, to your point, may not be well attended the evening that the board approves.
I think when you start putting compensation on, they get better turnout than they normally do.
So maybe if it's, I remember Jack Finnerty saying at one meeting that not everything can be put to referendum. I remember him specifically telling me.
Well, we didn't have to put this to referendum.
No, I understand. No, but he said specifically there were things that just can't be done that way. And I'm not a versed in the law, so I don't know. So I took him at his word. But here we are putting these other issues to referendum, and that's fine. But if in the future, to prevent the board from kind of very subtly and tacitly approving an increase in salary, because it's going to happen. 20 or 30 years from now, 40 years from now, I'll be dead and buried, and there'll be a board here saying, well, I'm going to get $30,000 a year, and be compensated fully. And the way you at least safeguard the public's interests, in my opinion, is to ensure that an increase has to go to a referendum in the future, so that the public knows that it's happening. Charlie's going to say no.
We have no ability
Yeah,
to do that.
legally.
Referendums are governed by New York State law, what goes, what doesn't go. The only thing that board can do is voluntarily refer it to referendum when they have an item that mandatorily has to go to referendum.
So
They
how
can
do you,
piggyback it on.
how do we safeguard against the board that's going to potentially
Can't.
abuse?
You have to trust the elected judge, you have to trust the judgment of the elected officials. That's what referendum is. That's why there are
Vote
certain,
down to 4-year terms.
yeah. That's why certain things don't go to referendum, because referendum really is adverse to government by representation, not by direct voting by the people. That's why there are very narrow things that can only go to referendum. This happens to be one of them, but the list is very small.
So he was right.
Yes, but we could not refer it to referendum unless we had an item that had to mandatorily go. We piggyback on top. We couldn't do it alone.
That's why we have to vote on the 2 to 4 years.
Correct, because without that, we can't trigger the referendum process, then anything we do is void ab initio unconstitutional.
Even if we vote to go from 2 to 4 years to make the referendum, if the people vote against the 2 to 4, then that goes away.
Correct.
Okay.
So if the 2 to 4 gets voted down, so does the compensation?
No,
No.
it's
The
3.
board can still pass the other two,
Oh, I see.
but they send it out for referendum, so if it got voted down at referendum, they'd be hard pressed to pass it outside the referendum.
Understood.
Yeah.
Christian Sullivan, 431 Ackerson. Getting ready for summer events down at Walker Beach and throughout the village. Last year we had recruited some people to be generous sponsors for these events and help take some of the burden off of the village. Some of the families got together and actually put money together. And so 3 families sponsored one of the nights. I know both John and Pat started those many years ago out of their own pocket, and so I'm asking if we could put an electronic flyer out and where we're asking for the $250 to sponsor one of these nights. There's 11 nights. I'll send a flyer to you if it's acceptable. And then it's a donation to Brightwater's Improvement Group, which is a nonprofit, so it's a tax deduction for any of the families that participate. So if anyone's interested in this room, would like to do look for the email coming out, or contact me, or just write a check to Brightwater's Improvement Group. We're big, and be happy to take the money and help the village and provide some really great nights. They were really well attended, fantastic programs. So
Last year we had 8 nights, and Christian had sponsors for $250 a night. This year we have the 8 music nights, and we have the 2 bingos, so we listed them if anybody wanted to sponsor the bingos. And the bingos are run, the businesses in town donate a lot of the gift cards for the adults, but then I, go to Five and Below, we buy $200 or $300 worth of prizes. So by having somebody sponsor that, then it doesn't cost the village really anything. So we have the 2 bingo nights, and then we're looking for some sponsors for the Snapper tournament, correct? Right.
Yes.
Okay. Last year, Jody was very generous for the McNulty Ice Cream Social, and they donated the ice cream. So don't tell Jody yet, but we're going to be nice to him and solicit again. Okay. But no, it's a great night. It's a good tradition. The summers in our village are very busy. We have all these events. We have the library and the Historical Society doing the baseball event, which is going to be a huge event. So, we just, not that we keep adding it, we have people wanting to stay here for their vacations. And we try to do with when Ackerson formed the village, it was meant for everybody to participate in what the village had to offer. And by doing what we do, by doing what Christian does, and our block parties, we bring the people out, minimum cost, and everybody can be involved no matter what their financial situation. So it's very important that we could continue that tradition of bringing everybody together and everybody out to the things in our village. And that's very important to me. So, Chris, one more?
2. One,
Same
library
at the same
budget.
time.
Library budget vote is this week.
I believe it's tomorrow.
And do we have striping coming up soon?
Probably about to be done for a month or so. They have to go, they have a lot of stop signs to do. You're going to show us where you want your crosswalk to nowhere, and then, we'll go from there. But before they come, you and I, Mike, are going to go around and we're going to check it out. We're not dealing with any speed humps or anything yet until the traffic survey, that's all done. We still have speed humps that we've talked about here many times. Still want to put them up in some places, but we want to wait till the traffic study people are in, traffic professionals are in, so that we could work with them and do what they want to do. All right? Anybody else?
Karen Sullivan, 431 Ackerson. I just want to add to what a couple of people were saying about just the outskirts of the northern part of the village about, I know we talked about trash and things like that, but a lot of trees have been removed, cut down, right? Like this, I don't know, due to construction on the service road, maybe on Sunrise, you can see straight over to the storage unit, to the cell tower now. That never used to be the case. And then also, I guess some trees died, maybe just along our side of the road on the Brightwater side. But it's so completely wide open there where it didn't used to be. And then all along the railroad, Brightwater's it is, but it didn't seem to have to happen in West Islip, I'm not sure why. But so I don't know if any of that's planned to be replaced or there's pressure or knowledge of any known landscaping projects in the future. And I know it sounds like county, state, but or MTA, I don't know.
So it's interesting along the tracks, Karen. Last year, the MTA came and they just clear cut everything. So you got to see all the nasty fences that were falling down. The guys who rent the property from us, Always Electric, replaced the one on the dead end of Ackerson. And I think Faber Brothers is going to replace them. But for some reason, MTA came through and they just cleared everything. And it looks nasty from the tracks. As far as north here, we'll take a road, take a look at it. Howells Road there, we eliminated the lampposts that everybody kept knocking down. We would put them up. 3 months later, they'd be knocked down again. So we just abandoned, I think, 4 of them. So we could check out the spots where we have the little dirt. I don't want to put in these little skinny trees that are going to look like nothing and 10, 20 years to grow. So we could try to check out Howells Road and the service road you said also, you feel?
I was thinking of the South Service Road, but...
The South Service Road on our side?
Yeah, there's 7 of those tall trees came down.
Right.
They're like...
Did we take them down, Mike? Did
No, the New York State DOT.
They left the stumps. That looks beautiful.
Yeah, it looks awful.
But now we
go back. So, well, we'll take a look over here. I don't know where if we could determine where our property is. So at least we could do something with ours. We just recently, unfortunately, on the top of Concourse East, that house got totally redone there. They put a fence up. I asked Bob, when are they going to put their bushes in? Bob says it's not considered a corner lot because the village owns like the last 30 or 40 feet. So the village is the corner lot, so they weren't required to put the trees in. So we had planted, the previous highway superintendent had planted trees next to the cabin that were too big to where they were going to be. So we took those, I think 8 or 9 trees, we moved them against the fence, and then we planted some more fences. So those trees along that solid fence were trees that we put in. So we replaced next to the cabin with some small bushes. I think we're going to be playing over there tomorrow to put the right bushes, because the trees that John put in, he's not here so I can say, the trees that John put in weren't the right trees by the cabin because they just kept growing and we just kept chopping them. So now they're in a place where hopefully they grow and cover up that guy's ugly fence. So, but I hear your point over there. We'll take a look at it. Pat and the board, we'll take a look and see what we can replace some of the greenery over here. Another thing, the John Thomas Inn, the old guy, the new place there is about to open. I think they're still waiting for some of their paperwork.
What's the name of it?
I don't know the name of it, but it's just, I think it's Bahia.
What about the forum?
Yeah, but this place here is going to be, I think, mostly Spanish and Central American and South American food. And, it's been quiet over there. It's a shame it's been empty. When they reopen, we'll be monitoring to make sure there's not parking and noise issues, but I got a feeling there's going to be. But we'll see. As far as the forum, Peter Pan Diner.
I'm sorry,
Peter Pan was in today, actually. Bob, what is the status of that? It's not going to be a marijuana dispensary like it was on Facebook, that was going to be a marijuana dispensary.
There was a struggle between the owners and their insurance company and the public adjuster and all of that, but they sorted everything out. They accepted a payout. I met with the owner and his architect today.
Oh, good. So it's in motion.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Bob, is he downsizing that building?
No, that had been,
now it's not.
that was a thought that he had for a while, but he was just going to rebuild it inside the existing limits of the building.
Hopefully that happens. People still assume that's Bayshore north of Sunrise because their mailing address is Bayshore. They have a 11706 area code. So at one point the post office decided to give them Bayshore mailing addresses. So when we have that discrepancy, because if Brightwater is Bayshore, it is Brightwater's the triangle going north there, but it does have a Bayshore address. As far as the old forum, I don't know what's going on there. The other place, as soon as they opened, it looked like it was not going to make it right away. Because they didn't want to be a diner, but it was a diner, so why didn't you just be a diner? They didn't want to be a diner, and now it's closed. So, that was a couple $100,000, sure. So, we'll see what's going on there. Anyway, anything else? All right, thank you again for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Make a motion to close the meeting. Do I have a second? All in favor?
I believe it, but it's just crazy. Right? I know you're on you. Yeah.